Hi, pile number three. So, for those of you who picked with your crystal, the awesome clear quartz tower. So, we'll move the previous pile's crystal. Okay, so the way this reading works, the intentions I put behind it, is you have a few significator cards that kind of talk about overall or repeating themes throughout the whole year that you're going to see. Um, so we'll walk over those first, and then I have some more specifics asking about personal relationships, career and or goals, and then your own personal growth, and then we end with a little bit of advice. So for your first significator card, we have strength, which in this deck is 8. Some other decks have it in 11, but this one has it in what a lot of psychics call the right way. There's also an 8 on this die, which is why I kind of brought it up. So 8 seems to be kind of a cool number for you. We also have the starfish with open to infinite possibility as kind of its key phrase. We have the antelope, which says life is speeding up for you. This is all really exciting. And then your last significator card is destiny. Um, so all of this seems really exciting, really optimistic. So I suppose we're going to start uh, this reading off with some pretty cool energy. It's more of like a I can do whatever I want because I have the power, and it's not necessarily rebellious, but it's going to come off rebellious to people who oppose you because those people, as much as they want to, they don't have power over you, so they don't mean anything. Not necessarily that you hate them, but like they are inconsequential. Like they're not even enough to like put up a barrier. And I say people, that's what I'm called to say first, but I suppose this could be like other energies or like some logistical obstacles as well. You're not even going to see them as obstacles. At most, they'll be like a nuisance that takes up a little bit of time. I also want to point out, you can't see it because you can't see my head, but I listen to music when I do readings. I have it on my headphones so we don't get like, copyright struck. Um, and it plays music randomly. Nothing is supposed to repeat. But when I started pulling your cards, this is gonna sound kind of funny. When I started pulling your cards, X Gonna Give It to You by DMX showed up. And as I was flipping your cards, a very specific quote came up that kind of like stuck out in my mind. In the lyrics, he says, fuck what you heard, it's what you're hearing. And I think that's gonna embody like everything about this reading and the energy for the year of you're going to be breaking expectations, and what people have told you or what you have told yourself in the past isn't going to matter because you're paving a new path for yourself and forging your own destiny so quickly that other expectations that have been placed on you by yourself or others simply won't apply in the same way that they used to. And I just can't believe how exciting this energy is. There's a lot of orange and like yellows overlapping, but orange specifically is what I'm seeing. And that's like a very fiery, very impulsive, action orientated, explosive, get things done now. Not because I have to or I'm hasty or I'm acting from a place of impatience and fear, but because you have the energy and the means and the desire, the passion to do so. So this is really exciting. I have no idea what you are doing this year, but like I can't wait to hear about it or figure it out. So like in the freaking comments or email me if you want to remain more anonymous. Like sometime come back here and let me know. Like this is so cool. So when we talk about the the strength symbolizes strength in like the most refined, mature form. It's not about power for the sake of power. It's not about personal gains, and it's not about proving yourself to other people or doing things for any kind of external motivation. It's about serving yourself in whichever way is most fulfilling to you. And specifically, the strength card is about you having every bit of strength and physical and emotional and spiritual needs to present yourself and embody that strength the way you need to achieve what you want to in the most fulfilling way to you. So it's about applying strength in a controlled, tempered fashion. There's nuance and there's love behind it. There's understanding and power. There's patience. Um, and there's planning that goes into this. So, for whatever reason, I'm getting more than I normally would from another strength card where you're really being seen as like the most elite form of capable. And for you, I'm not really sure you notice it the way the rest of the world does, in that you've evolved to this point. It hasn't happened overnight. So you're at a point where it's normal for you to have this much skill and mastery and prowess and motivation and an ability to apply it in a way that is gentle and in a lot of instances perfect. Um, but that's how other people are going to see it, not necessarily you. But this is kind of like a time of like make hay while the sun shines, of things have lined up in a way to where you can be explosive and pull out a front in front of everyone else in whatever fields apply to you, and really accomplish what you've wanted to and have a lot of fun and energy doing it. And this in no way will be draining. Every time you take a step forward, you're going to be empowered to take the next step, and that step's going to be bigger and it's going to be faster. And to other people, it might be scarier, but like you are just so far in front of them, their emotions don't impact you. And that's perfect, because what it means is in the past where someone may have held you back based on their reactions to you, that's no longer going to be a limiting factor. So I feel like subconsciously or otherwise, you've done a lot of work to get to where you are, and you absolutely deserve um, all of this progress that you're going to bring into the world and apply it to yourself. I wanted to talk about the Destiny card quickly here for you before we move on. And the Destiny card really focuses on higher vibrations, like higher frequencies that we live in and that our multifaceted beings resonate at. And so the Destiny card really symbolizes being strong enough and having the courage and being in a well enough state of being to present yourself to the world and conduct yourself in a way where your heart is open. And so you're not shields up or vulnerable, you're presenting yourself as the whole you, which can be very scary because if you're presenting yourself as the whole, most authentic, truest form of you that you can, when you get rejected, it feels much more personal than if someone rejected a mask you were wearing, because you can console yourself saying, that wasn't even the real me. Um, and that's part of why a lot of artists have a lot of strife in their beginning careers, whether that's like visual, musical, or expressive or otherwise for arts. Um, it can be very scary starting that career because true art comes from your truest self and it's an expression of your truest self. So it can be really scary when you're rejected. But with the combination of the Destiny and the Strength card, you're at a point where you're presenting your truest self to the world, and you're so strong and proud of who you are, and you've built yourself up to this point from a place of love and authenticity, that if someone were to reject you, which they will, everyone has their own opinions, and everyone's different for a reason, it won't hurt the way that it could. And it takes a lot of strength and courage to present yourself this way and walk around with your heart open and get stabbed every now and then, than if you did have like a shield or like a cover there. So the thing is, when someone tries to stab you, if they do personally attack you, or you hit energies that try to stifle you, it's simply not going to be very effective. And that doesn't mean you won't notice. Like sometimes you might go like, oh God, that kind of hurt, man. But it won't slow you down, and it won't change your perspective. It won't make you stumble, and you won't go back in time, and you won't lose any of your strength or courage. So you're in a very empowered and special position. um, and I'm not really sure what it is that you're doing yet, but I'm very excited for all of you, and I wish you all the best. And one thing I do want to say is that it can take people lifetimes to reach this point. So you should celebrate, and you should be really proud. And all of your spirit guides are kind of like, yeah, like you did it. I'm so proud of you. I'm like, this is gonna be awesome. And like, they're cheering for you quite literally, because I believe that we are able to impact the world and live our most fulfilling lives, um, to the best degree, when we're at a point where we're strong enough and courageous enough to present our authentic selves to the world from a place of love, and we do so unapologetically. So I think it's important to note also that, like, when you're met with negativity, you're not going to fight that back with more negativity. You're simply going to just move on. You're going to meet it from a place of neutrality, which allows other people the space they need to express themselves and grow. And they will fall away from you rapidly as you continue to launch yourself forward, in your life, in whatever way that means to you. Um, and that's going to perpetuate you understanding that you don't even have to react to them, and neutrality is a powerful stance to take, because you've now seen time and time again that these types of people, they don't even need to get a response from you or need attention from you. You can simply move on and live your life. And that's a really powerful position to be in, and that's a lesson that a lot of individuals can't ever seem to grasp in their lifetime. So, massive applause for you, because even if you're like, wow, I didn't do a lot in my life, I can't believe this is happening. This is kind of a culmination of either a very massively productive life in terms of self growth, or this is the culmination of coming back to a physical world and learning hard lessons over and over and over. And now you really get to do what you've wanted to do in your heart of hearts for a long time. So you should be proud of yourself, and you should celebrate. And um, I think that you're in a mature enough point to where you won't think of yourself as better or let your ego run out of check. But that is a warning that it's kind of like mixed preferences here. Some of your guides do want to tell you, it's just like, hey, don't let this ruin it for you. Like, don't get too full of yourself and ruin the experience, because then we'll have to like do a whole bunch of work all over again. But a lot of your guides don't seem to be worried about that. They're just happy for you. But I thought I would bring all of them to your attention, and you can use it to your discretion. So I guess 2025 is going to be a wildly awesome year for you. We're going to move your significator cards up here, and we're going to talk about this energy is so much fun to sit in. um, and I wish you all the love and support and all the fun. Um, so I have these cards here, and I have one that represents where you are at the beginning of this year, and one that represents what you will eventually evolve into, in terms of encompassing like overarching energies. I have this pile for your personal relationships, and then I have a second pile for careers and goals, and the third pile is for personal growth. So to start off with, for relationships like outside of work, um, we have the eagle and the cheetah. So you're moving from air to fire, but both of these are masculine energies. And again, it's not a bad thing. You don't have to be or identify as a certain sex or gender for these to apply to you, um, because metaphysical masculinity and femininity are different from physical ones and social expectations or constructs. Just putting the caveat out there, for those of you who need to hear it or would like to hear it. um, But I bring that to your attention because masculine energies, air and fire specifically here, are really famous for taking action and uh, taking action to produce the results that they want. Um, Not to say they can't be reflective and meditative, but famously, um, that's not what they're known for a majority of the time. So, just like we saw with your significator cards, we're seeing more of you being powerful enough to produce results in the physical world for whatever it is that you want to achieve at this point in your lifetime. And just like we saw running fast, we have the cheetah, who we all know is like incredibly fast. So there's a lot of themes. There's also still lots of that yellow and orange undertones that's coming back over and over again. So what those colors stand for um, is significant. So being explosive, producing results quickly, having lots of energy to do it and not being drained, being really enthusiastic and vibrant when achieving those things. Those are all qualities that I believe you're going to embody a lot of the time as you do whatever work it is that you're accomplishing in this phase of your life. Interestingly, the eagle for these cards is an embodiment of a mastery of two elements, one being air, but the other being fire. So you start from this place of just embodying um, both masculine elements of air and fire. And the eagle is known for being capable and powerful, as well as like a truth seeker and transforming karma. And so, hello. And so in this case, transforming karma is, in your case, I'm hearing more about all of this work you've put in this lifetime or previous ones, and entering that new phase of not only are you doing what you want to do, what's aligned with your destiny, what you came here to do, because you worked so hard on being strong enough and courageous enough to present your authentic true self, but you also come from this mindset of like you deserve it, but you're empowered to have it. I don't know if I'm saying that right, because the energy here is really strong and it's going really fast. Um, but you're changing your karma because you've kind of like met and paid a lot of karmic debts, and you've grown and learned a lot. So you're at a point where it's like, yeah, you're working hard to like do more stuff, but you deserve it because you've earned this opportunity and you're really excited for it. And again, it's not going to be draining, it's going to be empowering, and you're going to be so proud of yourself. And you're going to kind of experiencing the light side of life that you've been craving for a while, and that could be this or past lifetimes. So the eagle starts in an area where it's kind of like hold on and get ready, um, Like we're about to swoop and we're about to like do all of this crazy stuff because you're starting up high, where you've elevated yourself to, and then you're gonna take actions. And the cheetah is a symbol of achievement for these cards. Um, and he's moving so fast and achieving so much that ego doesn't have time to catch up and threaten him. And he's shining so brightly that he's kind of ignorant to the fact that he is his own sun. He is his light source. The sun isn't shining on him. Um, and so you're at a point where, at this point, after you make this transition, um, you'll be at this point where you are the inspiration for a lot of people that you're relevant to, or your achievements um, are in the interests of other people. Like you're going to be an icon and a beacon and like a goal that people want to achieve, but you're going so fast, so the gap between you and these people you inspire is going to keep getting bigger. And that's not a bad thing. It means you're brightening the world in a brand new way, and you're achieving things that no one really knew or understood was possible in the way that you achieve it. You're really like a path maker, and all of these people are kind of reaching out their hands, grabbing at you, like hoping that they'll be able to hold on to you, but none of them can catch up to you or reach you. So right now, you're kind of taking that deep breath and you're looking down and out and around the world around you, and you're looking to see where's the perfect spot to initiate my rush, my attack. Like, where am I going to do this pinpointed first move before I start my insane run of like being the next big great in whatever aspect of your life this is? And you don't necessarily think of it as you're better than everyone else and you're achieving more than everyone else and it's a competition that you're winning. Um, because again, the cheetah's like going so fast, his ego doesn't have time to like corrupt or catch up to him. Um, and so you're actually going to keep a lot of your humility and stay humble as long as you're achieving. So, one thing I'm being called to warn you about is that when you do finally take a breath to slow down and like maybe drink some water, um, and like sit and just enjoy because you feel like you've accomplished what you wanted to for the moment being, um, that's when it would be good to reflect and understand that you are just as worthy and worthwhile and valuable and valid as you were before you started this journey. The only thing that changed is your physical circumstances and what you can put on your track record as you did. But you're no more valuable than you were when those things were on your to-do list. Um, so it's a point of pride. It's not, and like a sense of accomplishment for yourself, but it in no way diminishes other people. So what you're gonna see is that when you finally slow down and take a breath, um, you might take more time to inspire other people. So you could be a teacher, you could be a mentor, you could go give talks, you could be just retiring and donating some money to charity. You could be taking care of your whole family or sending everyone you love on like a nice vacation. It could be a million things. Because this energy is so blown out and can apply to so many things. I can't get a hold on specificity yet. Maybe tarot cards will help with that later. Um, but as long as you like stay humble and exercise humility and understand you're not above other people just because you have a track record, um, the rest of your life after this big fantastic run will also be, in your view, really blessed and exactly what you wanted, whatever that looks like for you. And this is all in personal relationships. um, so you're accomplishing a lot in terms of like interpersonal things, but I also feel called to say that these are closely related to a lot of things that you're accomplishing as far as like it applies to goals and careers. So it could be you're working very closely with a lot of people that you know or will know that will become very important to you. So, for example, a lot of musicians, they form some tight knit communities where they all kind of encourage each other, even though some rise above the others. And so this can be kind of a specific example. But um, when Logic became a really popular rapper, he became very close friends with Eminem and even shouted him out in a couple of his songs. Um, and that's kind of what I'm getting here is that in whatever field you're growing and excelling in, you will make really close friends with a lot of people that will directly impact your career. Um, but it'll be multifaceted in that you'll also just greatly impact each other's lives because of how wonderful your connections are. So we'll move on now to energies specifically surrounding your goals or careers. So we have the butterfly, which is more air, and that's where you'll start the year. And then at some point, you'll transition into the spider energy here. The butterfly The butterfly is an air element, so again, you're starting up high. And then the spider is earth, so you're transitioning down low, more grounded, kind of like we're going from sky to a terrestrial creature here. Um, and it's really funny because the butterfly talks about personal transformation and undergoing a great massive change, referencing where the butterfly started from as a caterpillar. So the butterfly is really symbolizing your readiness to undergo a massive transformation, which I think is a really exciting place to start this year. And what I'm really hearing is that some of you are kind of in this energy already, so you have been transforming. Others of you haven't um, gotten here yet. So you're starting to feel this and you will be transforming. This is a general reading, so it's different for all of you, and time is not a psychic's strong suit. Um, Life is too dynamic for that, and there's too many moving parts, and you yourself are too dynamic. So what I'm hearing is that you could be undergoing the transformation now, or you could be undergoing it at any time this year. It could be February, it could be July, it could be December 31st. um, so just understand that when you are ready to handle all of this energy gracefully and with the power and speed that it's going to go at, that's when you're going to transform. Because all of this, as impressive as it is going to feel natural and easy for you because you're going to be so capable and strong you can handle it. And not everyone can do that. This is really complicated energy to not get completely blown out by. So you'll reach this transformation when you're ready. For the spider, I'm actually just going to read the book to you because the synchronicities in this book are so insane that I want you to understand, like, just how cool it is that some of these things line up. So the spider is the creator of prosperity through life's work, or dharma. And it says the spider is an ingenious creator. Its greatest gift is weaving the thread of dharma into a vast, intricate web that supports the spider and those around it, both financially and spiritually. It is hard work, but the spider neither tries nor becomes impatient. This card reminds us creativity is everywhere. Be process oriented rather than results orientated, and soon your quote work becomes like weaving a magical, priceless tapestry. Abundance follows. And it's known for being appreciative, enthusiastic, and prosperous. So it's funny how your career or your goals and your prosperity is greatly related to your personal relationships. So, whoever you're working with or interacting with are your greatest friends. And this really gives me the vibe of, and your career and goals can be in any field or life or whatever. You could even be inventing a new career. I don't know. But this is giving me the vibe of like very famous YouTubers where their best friends are the other casts that regularly show up on their channel. Or like very famous Twitch streamers where they will regularly stream live with their other friends, and that earns them a lot of money. And those are some of their most creative and prosperous videos or streams. It gives me that vibe of like, you're enjoying life by working with your friends and just doing what you want to do with your friends is allowing you to be creative and slingshot ahead of like everybody you thought possible and become your own role model because there's no one else you can look up to from the position you're at. And you don't look down on other people, but like you inspire yourself to the point where your own creativity and your own ideas are all you really draw from. You don't have a need to draw from other people. And that inherently makes you so original that other people and your friends in this community look up to you and kind of recognize you as the head honcho, the kingpin. And they don't have a dynamic of placing you above them in a way that you notice or impacts your relationship. Everyone kind of sees themselves as equals, but they will come to you to figure out what we're going to do or set the precedent or example of how they're going to achieve wonderful things next. And so, in other words, you are the most significant driving force, but there's an appreciation for everyone involved. And that keeps things very healthy and everything coming from a beautiful place of love. So, I don't know if you know these friends yet or you have made these acquaintances yet, because I'm seeing some of you will take a group that you know and you'll be the inspiration that skyrockets all of you to fame. Whereas for others of you, you work on yourself and you build a career for yourself. And in that new, fresh, amazing career that's incredibly prosperous, by the way, you will inspire other greats and experts in whatever field you're in, and they will then become your friends and kind of like your clique or posse, and they will start following you and to be the pack that follows you, which inherently makes all of you more prosperous. It's a very symbiotic relationship, and it will last as long as you want it to. So it will last until you retire. And I'm kind of hearing that for a select few of you out there, you're never going to retire. This is going to be so much fun for you. You will live it out until you no longer are alive. And it's going to be a big celebration for the rest of your life that you have worked for so hard that you totally deserve. So, as a word of caution, if anybody out there expresses jealousy towards you and throws shade at you for that, they just don't understand that you have climbed and worked on yourself for freaking lifetimes, uh, or crushed in what normally takes people lifetimes of work into one to achieve this. And that is a monumental task that you absolutely deserve the payoff for. And nobody, regardless of their jealousy or misunderstandings, are going to be able to take that away from you unless you let them. And so what you'll see is you'll only really get impacted by that once you slow down and take a break. But as long as you're running, you're not going to see it. So just know that once you're comfortable and you do kind of hang out and relax and see the fruits of your labor, like you go on vacation, take time off, whatever it may be, or maybe you spend time with your family and some of your family members are kind of acting like icky towards you because they feel like they deserve what you have as well, or something like that. Just know that the only way they'll impact you is if you allow them to and you give them the space in your head to do that. So you can just reject it, and that's not going to be hard for you because you're going to have such a wonderful community. I got another example. I'm hearing Try Guys from YouTube, but I'm seeing the cast of Dude Perfect, where it's the 5 guys that met in college that do like trick shots for a living. Um, and they're all like wildly popular. So I don't even know if I've ever watched Try Guys. I don't really know what they do. Um, and I know they had like a fallout because like one of the guys like cheated on his wife or something. That's literally all I know. But what I'm hearing is you're not going to be that guy or have anyone on your team that like does that. But you're kind of like the head guy that orchestrates everything else, but your whole group inherently is part of what makes everybody so popular. I'm also getting the example of like you worked really hard um in high school to train for, let's say, like basketball. Um and you get hired on to like a college team on a full ride scholarship, and you become the next most impactful player. The team wasn't doing super well without you. They were ranked kind of low on like the hierarchy of best teams, and after you joined, you just like shot this team up into fame, and now everybody knows who you are, and you have a lot of friends that you made with the team. They all look up to you. You're more or less like the captain that everyone aspires to behave like. And everyone cheers for you the loudest when you're on the court. And now, because of your fame, you have the luxury of having multiple offers in the NBA once you graduate, and you get to pick and choose where you're going to go and be wildly successful regardless of your choices. That's those are kind of like the vibes I'm getting here. But again, this can apply to like anything and anyone in any field or position. Um, just know that whatever it is that you're achieving or doing, even if it's not career orientated, it's going to like accidentally more or less end up making you wildly profitable regardless of if you plan on it or not. Like it just inherently is going to make you a lot of money. um, and you're not going to reject it in any way. You're just going to be grateful for it. um, and that's really beautiful. So your last two cards are talking about personal growth, because even though you did a lot to get to this point and grow, we never really stop growing, do we? So here we start with the elephant for this year. And at some point, you transition into the bat. And so we're going from fire energy back to air. So a lot of masculine, fast moving, action orientated energy again. This is a very energetic, explosive year for you, or just a new cycle that starts this year. And I am so happy and excited for you. I'm inspired to be nosy with this reading because I love this energy and I want to sit in it longer with you. Now, the elephant happens to be one of the most powerful forms or representations of the fire, or I guess I should say embodiment of the fire element in this deck. So it's really seen as being unstoppable and auspicious and wise. So it represents wisdom as well as good fortune. I know I already said wise once, but what's really interesting about the elephant is because of how large and inherently strong it is. It's right under the strength card. Um, it's known for destroying obstacles in its path. It doesn't just traverse them, it frickin' flattens them. And it doesn't necessarily do so out of a place of malice. It just does it because it's in the way, and that obstacle doesn't need to be in the elephant's way. So if the elephant could do anything about it, which it normally does, it just like annihilates it as it's moving past it. And I think that you're going to see or feel this way, where this is not the time where you're going to get stuck. And if you do get stuck, it's going to be instantaneous in the grand scheme of things, and you'll move on really, really quickly from it. And you're not just going fast, you're accelerating, you're speeding up. So, again, every time you take a step, the next step is going to be faster and stronger and more impactful because each step you take is empowering you and energizing you. And I think that's so fantastic. It's so exciting. I'm so proud of you, and I my heart goes out to you. This is great. So the other thing to know is that fire is inherently a destructive element, and so what the elephant does is the elephant understands when to wield that destruction and when to simply walk around something. So there's a difference between flattening an obstacle and just moving around it if it's not in the elephant's best interest to spend energy flattening it. So you have, as someone who is very wise, you have the discernment to say where you're going to spend your energy, and you're never going to destroy something in a way to where it will snap back and hurt you, or bite you in the ass later. What's going on is you're going to wield your destruction responsibly, and you inherently understand um, when to wield your power to break something down, and when to wield your power to propel yourself or build yourself up or grab others and carry them with you. You're never going to have your power become that classic double-edged sword that ends up hurting you in the recoil or in a snapback event, or burn bridges that you would like to walk on later. And that's fantastic. So you really have like a mature hold on what's going on. I also love that the elephant is known for being prosperous, and embodies good fortune, because it's that extra layer of you're just in that stage of your life that you deserve because you worked really hard for it, to where you're going to be prosperous and you don't have to worry about this. Um, I don't get a massive sense that you were really sweating prosperity and like good fortune and like having lack of finances or otherwise, but that doesn't mean that none of you did, because this is a general reading. I just think it's not as dramatic as maybe some of the other piles that I've been reading. Um, this is also the energy of where you are now, and you're very much looking forward. So you could have come from a place of poverty or really stressful finances, but you're moving so quickly that like I can't see or feel any of it, because it's no longer a part of your life, and it's so apparent that it no longer impacts you in a significant way. Um, so it's cool to see all of these layers tell you that like even if you're not looking for making money, like it's gonna happen. uh, so later you're gonna transition into this energy of the bat, and the bat is an interesting juxtaposition because the bat is about death, specifically in the death rebirth life cycle. So the bat leans on the something is going to fall away so that there is room for rebirth to happen. And it really stresses this need and action taking of letting go of what doesn't serve you. And I feel like you're going to do this pretty effortlessly, um, just because like you're running so freaking fast that stuff that isn't meant to be a part of you or for you to hold on to is just going to get lost, from the pure velocity. It's going to be kind of like if you put something on the top of your car and you don't tie it down appropriately, when you get on the freeway and you start going like 65 or 70, whatever it is for where you are, um, it's just going to fall off the car. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting here of like, stuff will just start falling away if it's not meant to be there because of how fast you're going. So letting go doesn't always have to be painful. It can be really exciting and liberating. And I see that you're going to let go of a lot of things that maybe helped you before you entered this energy of achieving what you really wanted to do with your life. Um, you're going to let go of the things that maybe you needed in the past. I'm hearing some of you had crutches that you no longer need. So maybe you had compensated in the past with certain habits that you no longer feel the need to have. So maybe before you had to budget your money and time because you were limited on those, you no longer have to exercise that much restraint or discipline. Some of you may have drank more often because at the time that was one of your outlets to find more joy, and you're transitioning to a point where like you just don't feel the need to like drink or use some recreational drugs like as regularly or as heavily, because you're so satisfied with where you are now and you're so motivated to continue doing what you do that you don't find that you have as much time or want to do these other things that you used as crutches. There may have also been like people or individuals in your life that um, you kind of leaned on a lot to help you through hard times, and you simply don't need to lean on them anymore. And it's not that you cut them out of your lives so you don't hang out with them, but it's almost like a relief to you in that you feel like when you hang out with them, it's rewarding for both of you instead of just therapeutic for you. Not that the other individuals in your life felt that way, if this applies to you, but just that was a worry you always had of what if I'm putting too much stress on them by needing their help. And now you feel like when you hang out with them, because you're not asking for help, you're both able to enjoy yourselves and no one is burdened. Again, not that they felt that way. So before we move on, I do want to pull a couple of tarot cards to see if your spirit guides have anything else that they want to talk to you about, that they're excited to tell you this stuff about. I have a little idea intuitively as to what specifics I should be asking. So I'm a little bit sorry if I disappoint because you really wanted to hear a specific question about a specific thing. But I'm kind of hearing that they sort of want to tell you more specifics about when all this is going to happen, which is interesting because I made a preface earlier that like time is not about, you know, something that I can do accurately for you most often. But if they want to give you hints to kind of direct you as to preparing yourself on when this is happening, I'm not going to say no. So let's see what's going on. So oh oh, I'll take that one and that one. I'll take top and the bottom of those because that was a lot. Okay. So we have those, and then I'm hearing one more, and I kind of like this one, and your spirit guides are very loud. Okay, so we have discs and wands. Oh, I did want to mention, because I've been making a note of it, this tarot deck is, it's actually called the New Chapter Tarot, which I thought was super flavorfully fitting for a reading for a new year. So you have the Hanged Man and Gratitude, and then you have the Universe and the Star, and then you have the Two of Wands and the Eight of Discs, which is the Pentacles card. This deck is a little interesting. It has a couple cards that are exclusive to it, like the Gratitude card. So we'll unpack those first, but the Hanged Man and Gratitude are sort of talking about, interestingly, what the cards under it were. So when we talked about the eagle, something I mentioned your guides wanted to say was that, you know, you're starting up high and you're kind of like surveying and you're seeing, where am I going to strike first? Where am I going to initiate this explosive run into the accomplishments I'm going to achieve? And that's sort of what the Hanged Man here is reiterating for you. Is the Hanged Man is telling you patience is a virtue, and it's a really good idea to not rush this because this news is so exciting and this energy is so intoxicating and energizing. But by waiting and listening to yourself, which you have the maturity to do, you're going to understand exactly when it's the right moment. And no one can tell you when that is. It's just something you'll know from your intuition. So the classic, you'll know when you know, that frustrating memo. But it's not going to feel like you're going to have to wait for a long time. Like when you're ready to get up and go, you're going to have the means to get up and go. And you'll understand when it's the right time, when it feels the best to go do that. Like there are no red lights, it's all green. like no anxieties, only excitement kind of a thing. So gratitude at first glance may feel like the universe is telling you to practice gratitude, but it's actually the other way around. And so this card is here to tell you that the universe is grateful you're here, you're in the energy you're in, and you're going to achieve what you're achieving. And because it's over the cheetah, it's talking about it's grateful for your achievements. So you're really a good driving force in the world, and you are helping move things the way that you and your guides want it to go. And all of that is because you're taking actions from a place of your true self and love and enlightenment. Even if you don't feel that way, that's what you channel as you do your work. And you're going to have such a positive influence on so many people within the world and the universe. And you're going to drive it towards a higher frequency and a place of love in whatever way that you're doing that. And the universe is grateful that you are doing that at this time when those accomplishments are achieved. So this is actually like a thank you for working so hard and then transitioning to a state of these accomplishments. And it's thanking you for those accomplishments. It's telling you that you should be proud of those, and you deserve love and finances and abundance, and better growth and more enlightenment to achieve more things because of that. Um, and that's a really powerful, really beautiful message. So at times where you may have any kind of doubts, I think it's important to remember that other individuals and the universe are grateful for you and what you stand for and what you're doing, because not everyone will be. And that's simply because not everyone comes from a place of understanding and a place of love, because some people are going through some pretty dark things and they're not in an enlightened state as you are, so they won't understand where you're coming from. You're operating on too different of a frequency to be relatable, and instead of trying to get up to your level, they'll try to pull you down because that's what's comfortable for them. And those people simply do not matter, and you will meet them with neutrality when you're being your healthiest. And that will allow you to keep moving forward, and it will give them space to grow, and eventually they will leave you alone or become other supporters of you. And for some of you, I'm hearing they will be some of your biggest supporters after they mature as well. So powerful card. The universe and the star are both in reverse, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, and I'm going to break down what those mean for you now. So when the star is in reverse, it's really symbolizing that you have untapped dreams that you haven't accomplished or thought about how to achieve, because they feel so foreign and so unattainable, or you simply haven't had those dreams yet because there are other goals you were accomplish before you open up those dreams and your desire to want to fulfill them. So they can be unrealized dreams as well. And what the star is really telling you is that you're going to achieve every accomplishment you've set out for, and that will open the door for you to achieve so many more accomplishments. And as long as you want to achieve new things that fulfill you and make you happy and bring you joy, you will continue to find more things to achieve and make you happy and bring you more joy. What I'm really seeing again, and I don't know why I keep getting visions specifically about like self-made influencers, um, but there are multiple influencers who they buy their dream home and they're very happy with it, and then they say, oh, I want to film videos like that have to do with using my dream home. So they'll do things like they'll build their dream home, and then they'll build like a beach in their front yard with a whole bunch of white sand, or they'll build like a trampoline park, or they'll buy like 15 new cars and build a new garage for it, and then they'll make a bunch of videos about their cars, um, or something like that. Like, or they'll go on a very expensive vacation and they'll tell you all about it, and they'll document their trips and their process throughout that. and that then becomes like a new goal that they achieved, is sharing their experiences exploring new places with the rest of the world. So whatever you're doing, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of eyes on you, and you're going to be very famous regardless of if you're a chef or an artist, some kind of sports player that goes professional, a self-made entrepreneur, that gets big business from very exclusive luxury brands, whatever it is. um, you're going to be self-made, and no one's going to contest to that, and you're going to help make other people and have a wonderful team. And every time you achieve a goal, you're going to find a new one that you're even more excited to achieve. So for the universe card being in reverse, the universe card really talks about having abilities to wield all the elements, kind of like the magician. Um, but it's more talking about how um, having the experiences of all the other cards in the major arcana, you're taking these elements and you can wield them with an added level of balance and harmony and grace by having an understanding of the metaphysical and the physical outside of the elements. So you can wield them in a larger, more refined picture to achieve what you want to achieve, both physically and metaphysically, or spiritually and emotionally. So, with the universe being in reverse, it's simply saying you just haven't done it yet. And being over the butterfly, it's symbolizing that don't do it right now. You're not ready right now when you're in this butterfly position. Don't wield it yet, but you'll know when. And when you take that first dive that starts this whole run of just an explosion um, of success, that's when this card will flip over, when you go from butterfly to spider energy, when you go from being ready to transform and having the knowledge of how you want to transform to being a master creator and warping your life the way that you see fit every second of every day. That's when the universe card would be flipped over, and you will unlock the knowledge and the drive to be able to do this. And I feel like you could do this now, but what's going to happen is you'll either do two things. You'll be a little sloppy, and then it'll set you back and you'll go a little slower in the beginning. It'll be like a false start, or it's so much work that you'll get a little burned out. And the universe is asking you to wait until your energy is refined enough in a spot to where every step to you will be energizing instead of taxing. So this was like a marathon where you don't get tired. So it's like a marathon where you keep running faster, and pretty soon you're doing a marathon at sprinter speed. But if you jump the gun on this and you don't exercise patience, like with the Hanged Man here at first, what's going to happen is uh, you're still going to have some success, but you're going to get drained, and none of this will happen on the same time scale, with the same positive feelings that you would have if you just like understood when you were ready when you did it. So even though this is really exciting, like you'll know when you know. So wait till you know, and it'll feel kind of like all the stars aligned. And again, like it's all green lights, no red lights. There's no anxieties. There's no what ifs. There's no, I don't know about this. I don't know if I'm ready. And it's just, you don't even, you're so ready, you don't even, it doesn't occur to you to ask or assess if you're ready. You just go, and it's natural and impulsive, and you just flow with the universe from there on out. And that's it. Um, for the Two of Wands and the Eight of Discs, in this case, Pentacles, the Two of Wands being over the elephant is interesting because wands are also like wildly associated with fire, when we're kind of like talking about just straight up imagery. And you can see that there as well. But when we talk about so the Two of Wands having a lot of like fire imagery as well, which is a neat like overlap. Um, it really talks about more of the beginning side of a journey and having a spark that has been ignited and now you're like nurturing this fire. So it's new and you're excited, you're happy about the future, and you're taking those first few steps, which makes sense because the element or the elephant is really where you're starting and then you transition into the bat. So this is kind of a confirmation that you'll start out this explosive journey as this elephant energy here. And what's really happening is even though they're your first few steps, they're confident and they're powerful. They're paving the way. You don't regret them. They're empowering to take, and they're so stable that you can push off of these footholds and really launch yourself without worry. And that's what helps you accelerate. So even though they're first steps, they're masterful because the elephant is a master of this. And that's part of how you'll know like when you're ready is when it's instinctual to just start running now. And those steps feel so good and they're so um like excellent and there's so much expertise applied to them that you'll never question again if you're ready and if you're doing the right thing and if this is the right time, because they're going to go so well. There will be no doubt in your mind. So the eight discs or the eight pentacles being over the bat is a very different feeling because this really represents like a period of actually studying. So it's about being a student, it's about learning from things or individuals or instances around you. Um, and there's this air of diligence and being careful, like doing your due diligence. So there's a knowledge that you have already, but you're cultivating skills. And what this really sounds like to me for some of you in group three out there or pile three is that you gained a lot of knowledge about the new situation you're in as you achieve many goals. So your status quo will change, your social circles will change, your finances will change, maybe your life will change, maybe your family will become extended or less extended. Maybe you have a new chosen family as opposed to your old chosen family, like your friends evolve completely. And we know you'll get new friends just based on, or the dynamics of your friends will change or tighten because you'll be the head of some pack or some team. Um, and so what I'm seeing is that you're gonna gain knowledge over your new situation and life status. And you're going to have a moment, a brief moment I'm hearing, of reflection where you're going to take a second and apply the new knowledge of your new surroundings to continue to accelerate. So you're going to say, some things have changed. Here's what's changed. Here's how I'm going to use that to my advantage. So it's a moment of adapting to what's going on. And they're minute differences. They're not huge, but you're tuning up to keep going. It's like pit stops throughout one of the big races that the NASCAR events have, where you're making adjustments so you can keep going so freaking fast. That's kind of what I'm hearing. It's not going to be the same thing as like, oh, I drove this car into the ground. It has 15. It has like not 15. It has 150,000 miles on it, and now it's starting to act a little funky. Like, do we need a massive part like update? Do we have to buy multiple things? Does it need to be in the shop for 3 days? Do we need to just buy a new car? Like, it's not like that. It's just you're tuning yourself gradually over time as stuff changes to keep going and not be bothered by anything. And this will happen as long as you want it to. So the other thing I'm seeing is that at a certain point, your accomplishment interests, so like your focus, will change slightly. It won't go totally off the track or like pivot to a whole new goal, although it could if you wanted it to. Or by goal, I mean like discipline or area of life. But um, the accomplishments that you have under your belt will inspire some of you to branch out and achieve things in related areas, but not necessarily the same area. So, for example, if you become a carpenter, um, and you build the most like excellent houses in the world, for very lucky individuals, maybe you want to branch out from that and you want to start building like other types of buildings, like museums where the architecture in them can be much more artistic and less like canonical. Or you want to start building like furniture, like custom inlaid shelves and really fancy like tables and like really awesome like desks and amphitheaters to put in these homes as well. So now you're building houses and furniture to put within them. Um, or you started building decks and you evolved into now building houses and you just add decks onto them. So things like that, where it's like it's somewhat adjacent to what you have been doing, but you're branching out to achieve more in other areas that over time you learned that you're interested in. When we talked about after you achieve so many goals, you'll develop new ones. And you're at a point where like you can take the knowledge you have and some more knowledge you learned along the way as you learned all of these goals, and you can apply those to achieve new ones. So that's really what this is talking about. And I think all of this is, it's so awesome. It's so exciting. I'm so happy for you. And I'm really, really curious about what the heck it is specifically you will be doing, but there's no way of me to even begin to guess that. So I'm not going to do you the disservice of trying to. What I am going to do is move on, and we're going to talk about the next cards I have for you. And so the next cards are advice, and they're going to talk about some other overarching themes. They're not related to a specific area. Now, for the next cards, the journey is talking about um, different energies or occurrences that will be happening throughout the course of the year for you. I asked for it to be more general, like your significator cards here. So the journey is symbolizing that this entire year you're going to be invited to step outside the boundaries of your life as you know it. And the status quo of your life, your boundaries will constantly be pushed, broken, and readapted because of how fast you're going. Excuse me. And how fast you're achieving new goals and redefining what is possible and what is normal for you in your successful life. So the journey is telling you that there are no maps for where you're exploring, because your level of success and accomplishments is so much that uh, you won't really have an idea. There will be no one else that can lead by example for you in your situation. And that is wildly exciting. So, this card is just reminding you that you're the only one that's going to set your boundaries and put limitations on what you are and are not going to do, because you're the only one that you can really relate to being at the position that you're in fully. So other people may have ideas or advice, but you are the version of you that's going to make the most informed decisions. No one else can be that version of you, obviously, because no one else is you. So this is a reminder that being the only person that can decide what your boundaries and limitations are is an empowering feature to you, because you are the only one that are going to put the brakes on, put the stops on, and you're only going to do that when it's aligned with you and when you want to. And if someone else has a problem with that, again, you're going to smack them with neutrality, and it's just not going to matter, especially long term. Okay, so for Earth, Earth is telling you a little bit more about what could be good to think about and focus on as you grow with all these new changes this year, um, or starting this year and in this new phase of your life. So, Earth is talking about how you may find over and over again a need to focus um, on reverence and appreciation for the natural gifts that are going to be presented to you now and always. So, for a lot of you, this isn't a temporary cycle. You're starting at this life, and this is your life. And I would be so happy to hear that. And I'm so excited for you. And I feel like you do need a congratulations and a round of applause that you're not going to hear enough in your lifetime, because so many people won't be able to see how long and how much blood, sweat, and tears literally you've put in over lifetimes to, or what is comparable to lifetimes of work to reach this point. And especially when you're successful, people are just going to look at you and say, I want that level of success. Like, wow, your life must be so easy. How lucky are you? And it has nothing to do with luck. Like, you did this. I think in the words of Billy Zane, like, a man makes his own luck, or woman, and or they. We don't discriminate here. And I just want you to understand that you and the people that you're around and the new friends you will relate to as you start racking up successes and achievements under your belt, they will see you for making these achievements because of the hard work you have put in, and they will not discredit what you have done to luck. And I don't think it'll bother you a lot. You're on too much of a different frequency. You're flying too high to care. But I wanted to say that now because I don't think there's a way for myself, your guides, or the universe to tell you enough how proud the universe or your guides could ever be of you. And I wish you could hear them, because it's a really touching moment for them to say things like that. So, yeah, this card's talking about an appreciation of the natural gifts that are going to be presented for you because you deserve them. And being appreciative, like, no one is too successful for that. So don't lose the self that you are now, because that self can carry you through all this success. So it's the Earth card is also a reminder to understand that there was always grace in the universe, and you are a part of it. Therefore, there is grace in you always, and you have the capacity to handle any situation with grace, even when you feel overwhelmed. So some of you may feel at certain points, with all the achievement you're racking up and how fast things happen and how quickly people start to know you and idolize you, that it can be overwhelming and scary and weird and hard. And it can feel like intrusive and strange. And maybe there will be days where you're like, I wish I didn't have this fame, this level of success right now, because people treat me different and it's uncomfortable, or I feel different and it's uncomfortable. Um, and you can always handle those situations with grace extended to others as well as yourself. You can be patient with yourself, and it's a different level of shame to tell someone like you can't be upset that you're successful, and you can't be upset that or frustrated with having a lot of money and no financial hardships. And I think that's coming from a place of lack, not a place of love, and a place of misunderstanding, because this is kind of akin to a man who's been stuck in the desert for multiple days, getting mad at the guy who's drowning that he's complaining he has too much water. And perhaps the man in the desert doesn't understand the guy in the lake is drowning, and he just sees a man in a bunch of water flailing his arms going, well, look how lucky you are, you can swim and drink all you want. He doesn't see that the man can't swim, he's drowning. um, and so if you have frustrations at your level of success or abundance because it makes you uncomfortable, or other people are treating you unfairly and sometimes it's hard to deal with, you can be patient with yourself and you can treat yourself with grace. And when you've taken care of yourself, it'll be easier to handle others with grace, which in a lot of ways is just going to look at like neutrality and probably not acknowledging them, especially if these accusations are happening on any form of social media or electronic communications. So the last card that we have for you of things that are going to be important for you to remember as this year progresses is the coyote. And the coyote is really talking about something you might be able to do under certain circumstances that are difficult for you for whatever reason. And so these are all about asking questions that question evaluating what you want and what you desire and what your next goals are, and are those actually important to you, are they actually appropriate, or have you been pressured or convinced into wanting to achieve certain goals, and do you really want specific things for yourself? Are you doing it just for the publicity, just for the money, just for the peer pressure or the ploys or the approval of your family? And so there's a real call to action here from the coyote to always keep a level of discernment when you make new choices or decide to achieve new goals or take new actions in the successful life you have, of always being the person that you started as, in that always coming from a place of genuine being genuine and authentic, because a lot of times success can change who we are and we can grow and learn from it, which is fantastic. Please do that if you feel called to and it's right for you. But there's a very other real flip side of that coin, in that successful people that experience a lot of abundance have the means to take actions that you otherwise wouldn't have before you experience that level of success. And that can look different for everybody, but sometimes there's a very real heavy risk of taking actions that are no longer aligned with your highest self, um, and they are somewhat misguided, misinterpreted, or corrupted into being like, oh well, my friend just really wants me to do that, or like, oh, I'm gonna plug and support this one sponsor that means nothing to me and I don't think represents me well, but I really want that money. And it's not that hard to say, hey, this like piece of work is dedicated to them, or wearing a piece of gear even though you don't agree with the sponsorship. So for example, like um let's say whatever for whatever reason Chick-fil-A asks you to be in a commercial that they have, and you decide that being of a different faith and that being important to your audience and you voicing it regularly, um, that maybe you don't want to be associated with Chick-fil-A who is of a different faith, or maybe you heard about all the ways that they are incredibly misogynistic and you don't want to support that, but Chick-fil-A offers you like a dumb amount of money. And for those of you who like Chick-fil-A, this is not like a hate speech against you, this is just saying how there can be complex, conflicting things going on here. um, and so that might be something. Or you have a friend who really wants you to talk highly of them. Let's say you're a musician and your friend is like a starting out drummer, and they don't really know what they're doing, they don't have the skills to solo appropriately or back somebody up who is taking a solo, because They just don't have that experience yet. But they keep asking you over and over again, like, can you take me with you um, the next time you travel? Or can I play with you and your friends at your next live event at some restaurant or bar or outing? Because I want the exposure and I want to be famous and I want people to know my name. And you're in a very awkward position where, like, for whatever reason, you don't really feel like you want to just tell your friend, I will take you after you practice more, um, or something to that extent. Like, you feel like you can't be honest and therefore deny or delay this agreement. And that in turn takes you in this position where now you have a drummer who's not experienced and they don't sound as good and they're not as impactful as some of your more experienced friends or acquaintances or connections that are really good at backing up a soloist as a professional drummer slash percussionist. And so the next time you perform, it's not as good, and your audiences that are well versed in what you do are somewhat disappointed, and that therefore has a negative repercussion on on your identity and your brand and your performances. And so maybe some people liked your friend, but a lot of people were kind of disappointed at you as well. So, there's just these examples of understanding who you are and what you want and being able to say no, because this is your career and your life and your shape overall. And you're at a spot of very solid maturity right now where most of the time you are going to tell people, like, no, and do what you want to do without harming them, really, even if they think you're being, like, cruel, which you're not. It's more like neutrality and being responsible for yourself and your life, because them trying to use your fame, your skills, your profession, your success for their gains is like, you don't owe them that, and they can't say that you're negatively impacting their lives, because when you say no, that doesn't tell them no, it tells them this route is closed to you and something else will come along for you later that is in line with both of us, both parties. It's not in line with me, and that's fine. But a lot of people won't see it that way, and that just means that those people don't deserve your kindness to begin with, because they're not coming from a place of love and they're kind of just being like entitled little brats. And you don't need to subject yourself to that. But there's a very real warning here that the more successful you get, the more you'll run into that. Just because the longer time you have and the more attention you bring to yourself from the success, the more opportunities are going to happen, because other people are going to want that from you and try to invite themselves into it. And some people, like, the higher up you get in the success, you'll run into people who are a little bit sleazier about this, and they're a little bit better at getting what they want from people, and so they can be a little bit tricky. Um, and you'll be able to sniff them out, so then it's just up to you to still have this courage to tell people no. And some of you may be met with other big icons fighting with you, and they will pull lower punches than you, and they may try to defame you. And I'm hearing some of your guides go, lawsuit, and you'll just trash them in a lawsuit and you'll come out on top. Um, and for others of you, um, it'll be as simple as just telling these other big guys, no, we're in different fields, stay in your lane, and that's all it'll take. But either way, this is a very real call to have the courage to continue to be you regardless of social pressures, because right now you don't really care about social pressures and negative energies. So just keep not caring as you actually become famous, because there's this skewed understanding with a lot of people that their success and money is based on their fame in favor of the many, where it's more important for them to be liked by the many because their career somewhat depends on it. And we see this a lot with, like, people who have like 1 million followers on TikTok and they're like, don't you know who I am? And, like, not everyone on TikTok is insufferable. Um, and if you would go on, you definitely wouldn't be. But it's a really good example to explain to you that some people put way too much importance in it. Like, they say, like, I have 1 million followers on TikTok, so, like, I can be a jerk to you and I can get your whole restaurant shut down if, like, this waitress isn't nicer. And that was a very weird, strange example. I don't know which which guide has some beef with that, but like they'll bump into you in the street and they'll be like, you can't touch me, I have a million followers on TikTok, you know, like weird stuff like that. Like some people just assume that their fame somehow is a sense of importance, and eventually it is important, because if they lose all their followers it means their career is over. And for you, you're never going to have that problem. If one of your fan bases dies out, it will be very quickly replaced by another, and if a certain platform stops working for you, you'll find another. If certain connections fizzle, it's because they're going to get replaced by even better ones, as long as you keep being your most authentic, true you and taking actions that are in line with that. And that's very empowering to have that security being told to you clearly by your guides. And so there's just a warning of, make sure you don't value any of these outside influences more than you do right now, because you should be grateful for them, but they in no way should shape anything about how you operate. Um, and so you should kind of hit your fans with like grateful neutrality, like express gratitude that they're there, be happy that they support you, but if they stop or if they demand certain things from you that you don't agree with, like just tell them no and don't be affected by it. Keep doing what you're doing, even if you do worry about that stuff. So I hope that was helpful. And we, because I run this channel, I said so, and I can't hear you, we're going to move on to the last portion of this reading, which is just some extra like ending advice. So I have these two cards here, and then we'll read like a quote from a book that has some cute like ending advice that's usually optimistic and uplifting. So these two cards I asked with the specific intentions of understanding what types of energy work you can do to continue to grow and protect yourself throughout this year. And as we learned, for a lot of you, it's not this year, it's this new massive cycle slash phase of your life. Now, the first card that I have for you is defined as being mainly the energy of fire, and then nuanced and complemented by ancestor fire and the star. So there's a lot of like fiery hot energy here. And I believe that this card here is a message from your spirit guides and potentially aspects of yourself that remember you earlier in this life or from previous lifetimes. And this is advice they're giving you to get from that butterfly to that spider state. So they're saying, okay, you're the eagle right now. This is what you can do to make that jump and start running like the cheetah. This is kind of what they're calling for you to do, to solidify to yourself you're being your most authentic self, your true self, you're living that way, and you're okay with living with your heart exposed and people seeing it, and it's not going to hurt if they have problems with that, like embodying that strength and the maturity to wield it appropriately. So what they're really calling you to do is to take that fire and desire, that passion that you have, that understanding that you are you and you are perfect and you are enough and you're valuable, and what you produce will be valuable. They're asking you to really look inside and seriously question at this point in time what your dreams are and what they mean to you and what you want to do. And this doesn't mean you have your whole life planned out. If you do, like, okay, that's great and everyone's different, but this could be as simple as not saying, oh, I want to be famous and I want to be on these TV shows and I want to be on the red carpet, and or like I want to be the number one best in my field and I want to be in the Hall of Fame for whatever it applies to. Like I am one of the greats. It can be as simple as my dream right now is to paint my first painting and sell it at a price that I'm happy with. And it doesn't have to be more than that. Your dream could be the next time my team plays, we're going to win. And I'm going to have a significant hand in that. So, or maybe it's I try out for a team and I get accepted. um, it can be anything, or it could be as simple as like I'm gonna get lessons to play the violin. I've never done it before, but it's something I've always wanted to do. And now that I'm an adult with a paying job, I have the means to do that. So it can be anything. It can be whatever you want. It could be a physical feat like climbing Mount Everest. It could be an internal one. But like maybe you want to have like successfully astral project and be able to talk about it to people. Maybe you want to meet someone and start doing like motivational talks. I think it's going to be wildly different for everyone, but when you sit there and you ask yourself, what is my actual dream or dreams at the moment? What do I really, really want? What am I going to do um, that would make me feel the most fulfilled, the most accomplished, the most proud and happy with my choices and my achievements in life? When you seriously question and criticize those things, you will understand what your heart of hearts wants to do right now for this lifetime, because it could change later. And what's going to end up happening is you will understand very clearly what your first steps should be. So this is like akin to the eagle surveying and figuring out right there, that's where I'm going to dive. Like you figuring out what your first couple dreams are, that's going to be your way of saying right there, that's what I'm attacking first. That's what I'm achieving first. Those are my first steps. The last card that we really had to talk about, that your spirit guides wanted to share with you, was this Skywind Sun card. So the sun is a lot about more like ethereal energies and like your light and your fire, and that radiates out and can project on to other people, other individuals. It can even project onto your surroundings and tangible or intangible things around you. It's a really positive thing to be associated with or embody in any way. And so this card specifically, with energies mostly being tied into or associated with the wind and the sky, is talking a lot about how there's this clarity of you're embodying um, this like happiness, this love, this joy, your strength and your power, and your courage to be your most authentic and true self and live that way, even though there are so many influences around you, from individuals or otherwise, that um, in a lot of ways have opposing effects on you, and they encourage people to conform rather than to embrace their most authentic selves, because everybody is different, and that's part of like a really huge battle that a lot of us will deal with in our lifetimes. And that's part of why this is such a strong message that you have, and why it's such a big feat, is because in a lot of ways you're doing the hardest thing there is to do as a human. And that's why, for a lot of you out there, this is something you've worked for so many lifetimes. And now that you're here and you embody that without trying, you're reflecting that on to the rest of the world. So something that's really important about this card is that you don't only recognize it and embody it in yourself. You inspire others, who have likeness with you, to see how wonderful that likeness is, regardless of if they're in situations where they're encouraged to express those or not. They're going to be inspired regardless. And that's also very powerful, because you're empowering other people by being empowered yourself. This card talks a lot about how your authenticity will radiate from you and your heart and your spirit. And it will inspire others, and it will have a greater impact on those that are closer to you. So in a way, I get this idea that that group, that team that's going to naturally rise to your level or be close behind you, because you'll always be a little more in front, since you're kind of the one that just keeps springboarding further and further for as long as you want to. So even though you see everybody as equals and they don't see you as being super far ahead or intimidating in whatever team or group you've assembled, like we talked about, they're still going to look to you first as like kind of an unspoken leader and the most impactful. And I think what's happening is a lot of your team and this loving group that you have that everyone's going to benefit from and be excited and motivated to be a part of, and everyone's going to be valuable and raise each other up, is um, this ability of yours for everybody to see your light of your authentic self um, is going to attract other people in a way to where they're going to stick around you and they're going to be motivated to grow and move quickly just like you. So by embodying this energy, that's how you're assembling this team. And it's going to feel natural. It's not going to feel like work. It's going to feel like these people either came out of nowhere and you just clicked with them and you all started running together. Or if you already know these people, and when you start running, they're just going to start running with you. There's not going to be a conversation about, hey, you want to do this marathon with me? You want to like achieve all this stuff and do great success with me? They're just going to say like, oh, you're doing that? That's so cool. I'm going to do that with you. I'm going to do that too. Or like, hey, can we do that together? Because I already like to do that. Um, and they're always going to be kind of proactively checking in with you and seeing what you're doing and taking steps to keep up with you. If somebody stops taking steps to keep up with you, that's kind of the signal of um, you'll find another person, or it's their time in their life to take a break for a little bit, and that's okay. Like no one needs to feel bad or pressured about that, even if they do. So I wanted to read a quick quote from what the guidebook says on this. The last couple lines are italicized, and I think they really get across what this message is here to describe what your interactions with other people are going to be like, even if they're unspoken, just your frequencies and energies impacting others. So it says that you're going to have this innate understanding on a higher level to see these qualities of yourself that you've worked very hard and are very proud of. You're going to see these in a lot of the people around you that have positive impacts and do come from loving places. And in a lot of ways, the dialogue you're going to have with them on a higher level is, I see you, I hear you, my power is your power, and look at how powerful you are. So even though this is about your journey and you're always going to be the most radiant one in your life in this cycle that you're starting, you're going to see that there's so many other people that you are still impressed and inspired by. And even though they're kind of closely following behind you or they're in your group, and a lot of times they look to you for inspiration or the next goals, or they'll take steps as you take steps, not before you. A lot of the times, what you'll see is that they still impress you and inspire you and drive you to do better because you want to achieve for yourself and them, just like they don't want to let you down. So that dynamic is a lot of what's going to keep you excited about moving forward. There's a lot of positive feedback loops here, and they're all coming from a place of love, which is the best places any of these things could come from. And that's part of what's going to build such this solid foundation and keep you energized. So all of this is really, really exciting. And I wanted to end really quickly with getting a quote from some of these books that I have and I find to be like cute and encouraging and motivating. And I think you got a lot of encouragement in these cards, which you absolutely deserve. So I don't know how much more you'll need, but we're going to go for it anyway because it was my intention to do so. We'll leave these off to the side, I guess, the rest of your cards. So the way I'm doing this is I have 4 different books to pick from, and I'm going to roll this 4-sided die to figure out which book. And then based on the book, we roll the d12 to see how many d20s we're going to roll. And that will determine, their sum will determine what page we're picking. I know that sounds like way more unnecessary than we need it to, but I'm doing this because I want you to understand if these messages feel really impactful or have a lot of synchronicities, it's not because I flipped through a book and was like, hey, this sounds good. It's because it was meant to reach you at this moment in time, and you were meant to hear it whenever you watch this part of the video. So you're getting book 4. This is the Book of Healing, funnily enough. And so we're going to see only 2. Okay, so somewhere in the first 40 pages here. That one went off camera, but it's a 13. So we're going to go to page 23. So 23 is a poem called Choose to Let Go. And we'll read it real quick. So it says, letting go does not mean that you are giving up or that you are weak. It could just mean that you are no longer allowing what hurts you to control you. Even if they are the ones who want you to let go of them. Tell yourself that you are letting them go because you want to. You are not obeying them, you are liberating your soul. So when I asked for readings from this book, I asked for readings kind of like your significator cards and advice cards for them to apply to the whole year. And so I feel like this is applying to, for some of you, some good advice of steps you may need to take to start this journey. So as you're scouting out where to strike first and when to take the first steps, perhaps there are some anchors in your life that you're just going to drop that's going to allow you the freedom and the strength to take those first steps. Like there's some liberating of yourself you need to do beforehand to feel ready for this journey. I also feel like for most, if not all of you out there, as you're taking this journey and you're running very quickly and you start outrunning people, there are certain people where even though most of them are just going to fall away naturally or not be able to catch up to you naturally, there's probably going to be an instance, 1 or 2 of them, where there's just going to be something to let go of. And it doesn't necessarily have to be human being. For a lot of you, it probably will be. And the book like calls it that. So for some of you, it will be. But for others of you, this could just be like a crutch. And we talked about that a little bit earlier, where there may be some coping mechanisms because life is really hard and sometimes coping is needed, where in certain cases, because it's become habitual and comforting, you're going to have to make the active decision to let go of those things that once served you but don't necessarily serve you now and are now taking up space, where there's other things you would rather take up space with, and you're not going to realize it until you look at yourself in a more elevated state and say, hey, now that I am elevated, I don't need that. I just keep doing it out of habit. So let's let go of that. And as you keep reaching more and more tiers of success in whatever that's going to look like for you, this theme of evaluating what's useful and what's not, what's needed and what's not, will keep coming back over and over. And it's not going to be in like a bad or a stressful way. It's just going to be in like like we said earlier, little tune-ups. So when your guides talked about like optimization, like pit stops during a big NASCAR event. So stuff like that. I hope that all of this was helpful and encouraging because this is a really, really exciting thing to talk about. And not everybody is blessed enough to experience a cycle or phase of a lifetime like this in their lifetimes. Like, this is a massive success that's going to be celebrated by you manifesting more and more success and things to be proud of and empowering others. So, from your guides and the universe and me, we all just want to say like thank you for putting in the work to be the amazing person that you are now. And thank you to all the future things you're going to do to raise the world up in the way that you are. And even if your impacts don't feel super wildly successful, I'm getting that some of you may feel the need to compare yourselves. So you say, like, well, I'm not a scientist and I'm not making like new cures for cancer and like getting the next Nobel Prize or something like that. But like, it doesn't matter. Even if you're an entertainer, you're going to be a wildly successful like comedian or artist or TikToker or um, like sports fanatic, NASCAR driver. You're just really good at poker all of a sudden. Any of that is going to impact the ways in so it's going to impact the world in so many more ways than you think it will and it can. And even if you think you're going to do a lot and you're not worried about if you're impacting the world a lot, you know you are going to, and you potentially already are. It's still going, the reality of what you're doing is still going to be so far above what you think it is. And there's no way you're going to realize it until you're done with this lifetime and you get to self reflect outside of the limiting human uh, perspectives that we have right now in these physical bodies. So just continue to be you and enjoy everything this lifetime has to offer because you deserve it. Um, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for being through this entire talk because it was long, and I'll see you in a brand new video.